everybody. How y'all doing?
Well,
Any public comment, Gabe?
None.
No, and I don't see anybody sitting here. So I'm gonna turn it over to Tony to talk about the various items under agenda item 2.
Thank you. So item 2A and 2C are essentially the same thing. So we'll just go through the preliminary year-end report, and this is for year-end 2024. The year-end surplus is $858,000, which gives us our unassigned fund balance of $8.9 million, or a little over 16% of our expenditures. Our property taxes had a slight surplus of $92,000 due to stronger than anticipated back tax collections towards the end of the year. We've been discussing all year, interest rates did well this year, so we had a large surplus of $455,000. As you probably all saw, the interest rates were cut, so that's
Didn't
probably
expect that again.
right. That's somewhat short-lived, but we'll monitor that as we go. Our intergovernmental revenue surplus $230,000, mostly due to a revenue sharing amount that was sent from the state during the year. That I don't believe will happen this year. The police department had a surplus of $114,000. They have 3 vacant officer positions at the moment, and they've had a number of work-related injuries that they've had to work through. So when there's a work-related injury, we are reimbursed for a portion of the wage by workers' compensation, and so that's where some of that surplus comes from. The fire department had a surplus of $32,000. They had some savings in radio expenditures and technical supplies. The building official, a surplus of $24,000, mainly due to savings in part-time wages for the building official himself. If we go into public works, there's a surplus of $20,000. That's due to, again, some wages due to work-related injuries. Human Services had a $26,000 surplus. That's due to savings in part-time wages. I think when it comes to part-time wages, the budget's just an estimate based on what the department will think will happen throughout the year, and sometimes some of the programs just don't happen. So recreation, a surplus of $19,000. A lot of that's due to part-time seasonal wages and pool related, because we did not have a pool. Same with pool and gym, a $30,000 surplus. That's when we close the pool. Most of that is chemicals and some wage-related items for maintenance. The recreation was more for programming. Our benefits have a slight surplus of $70,000. And finally, as you all know, Amity returned $462,000 in March. So if you go to the third page, it sort of outlines, I think, nicely the summary of the the surplus and revenues and the surplus and expenditures. So you can see each department for the year. And so if there's any questions or...
Anybody have any questions? I would just note that we got a long way to go. It's early in the
For
year.
this year?
Yeah.
So this is right, so next month I'll have your first quarter report for this new fiscal year.
Okay.
Oh, I just realized this is
ending,
ending June 30th,
correct.
2024.
Correct, this is ending 2024, yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
These are the financials for when we submit our materials for our audit.
Okay, and that's a nice segue.
So most likely, if they don't have any audit adjustments, which I don't think they will, this will be, close to our year end. Yeah, okay, so our audit has begun. We did field work in last month and continues to this month, and they've also started their the audit, second part of the audit, which is when they actually audit the financials. They've done testing on our all of our controls. And the interesting part about this year is, when I first started, they would be camped out 2 weeks over the summer, 3 weeks in end of September, beginning of October. This year, it's mostly virtual, and so far they've come out one time. but the rest of it's all virtual. We upload documents. Just sort of an interesting thing.
I know they're happy about that. Are you happy about that?
So it's good and bad. The good part is you get to plan when you do the work, as opposed to have somebody hanging over your desk looking for something, and it always happens to be when you're doing something else. So that's positive, but the negative is sometimes if they're looking for something, and they may call it something slightly different than what we call it. If somebody's there, you just say, well, what exactly are you looking for? And they'll tell me, I'll say, well, here you go. But if I have to read it, and I got to think, well, what are they really looking for? And then I got to try and figure out what they're looking for. If I don't know what they're asking, I got to email, so there's some benefits and some negatives.
At least they're in the same country.
Yeah, that's true.
At least they're in the same country?
That is true.
Oh,
Brian, can you remind me when the fiscal year ends for us?
June 30th.
June, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we have until the state requires us to have a financial audit 6 months after the end of your fiscal year. So it's due December 31st. There's a provision for some extensions, but we try to get it done by December 31st.
right. And they usually report to the Board of Finance.
Correct. Then they'll come and report to the Board of Finance the findings, and so there's a lot of towns that are late that were late last year, and we had a presentation from one of the credit rating agencies, and it's becoming sort of an issue for some credits for some of the towns because they don't have updated financials.
Oh, okay. Any other questions about the audit process or the financial report? Anything you want to say about Board of Ed?
No, that's just for your information.
Okay, all right.
I would like to add one thing. I'd like to publicly say how thankful I am for the job that Tony does and that all of us do here. I've read several reports, most recently in Brockton, Mass., another town in Rhode Island, where the towns are just fraught with impropriety and fraud. I mean, it's just millions of dollars missing from the budget. And I'm just very, very impressed with the controls and the mechanism and the supervision that we have in place here. So I'm
Hear,
very,
hear.
very thankful for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Ooh, I got overwhelmed there for a minute.
So just to confirm, right? At
Yes.
the end of the year, we had 1.7 million of additional dollars. in
Correct.
Which we
Yeah,
appropriated
I'm glad you're asking that question. Yes, that's correct.
800,000 back to the fund balance.
That's
and
correct.
and the rest is 858, which is just in cash.
That's exactly correct. That's the actual cash increase to the fund balance.
Okay.
So, right, so we had, at the end of the year, we had $1.7 million surplus, but we had an $800,000 allocation from fund balance, which gives you the 867.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's also you'll see there's a slight a deficit in the operating transfers for private duty.
Right.
So
67.
67, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the schedule helps to better understand how the allocation from designation from fund balance works.
To that end, I also wanted to just mention that the Amity surplus and the interest income surplus is something that we probably won't be seeing next year.
Right.
So it's just kind of just putting that out there to
Well, that's
understand.
what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
It's always a fluid situation.
Right.
Between that and the MRSA funds that we got
Yeah.
back from the
Right.
state,
It's always
there's
fluid.
a lot of one-time
It's
stuff.
correct, one time, correct.
Yeah, because
exactly.
I saw of the 800,000, 455 of it was interest
Right.
income.
And
So
450 is from Amity, 430
Yeah.
is from
That's
Amity, yeah.
Right.
That's right.
But to your point, Javier, we know we're doing a good job. Every dollar is accounted for. We know where it is, and we're grateful to you and your department for what you do for us. So,
and so many departments coming in under budget too. That was very impressive too.
So we try to, every year, I make sure that each department comes in under budget at the end of the year. So there's a lot of dialogue and discussion, and each department knows they have to come within budget. That
is dialogue and
Just-
discussion a metaphor?
yes,
Okay, all right, good.
yes. And they all know.
Okay, good. It's important to have metaphors. Okay. All right, so nothing else on item number 2 on the agenda, correct? We're all set?
That's correct.
Item number 3, I think we want to look at the 12 months coming up.
Oh, so no, item number 3 is
Yeah.
a couple of items. The first is the budget schedule, which we have to publish. So I've handed that out for you to look at. It's nothing we're going to do tonight, but next month it'll be on your agenda to vote on. So then we'll also check with the Board of Selectmen, make sure there's no issues with the Board of Selectmen, particularly for the meetings that involve the board. One item of note is, I think for this year, again, we've combined capital and operating, and we'll do that going forward. That'll be our new process. I think
That
makes
was
sense.
really great. It was a
That's
great
totally
idea.
cost
Totally agree,
effective.
yeah.
Much more efficient.
Yeah,
And the other thing we did was added another meeting. So usually we used to have 4 meetings in January and 2 meetings in November. That was 6 meetings for the budget. Last year, I think we did them all in 4, and I think we added 1 more meeting in case we needed.
I think that sounds right.
Right,
Yeah.
because some of them were a
Yeah.
little long, and I just, I don't want there to be too much stuff in one night.
Yeah,
Right.
well, this is a much more efficient way to set it
Yeah.
up, I think, and I have to believe that the department heads would prefer to
Right.
come once rather than come twice,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And it gives them a little extra time to do their capital
Yeah.
budget as well.
Okay, all right, but we don't have to vote
No,
on this tonight.
that's just for, yeah.
Okay.
The second item is budget guidelines. So each year I like to ask the Board of Finance if they have any budget guidelines. And again, you don't have to present this tonight, but I just wanted to set the framework for this. When we communicate to the departments, to the extent there are budget guidelines by the board, we'd like to also communicate that. As, for example, in the past, there have been no new positions, no new full-time positions has been one in the past. One year it was, depending on the year, no increase, or no increase in non-salary items, or there's been a number of or some years there are none. So, and we plan to have Mika's planning to have a meeting in November, which I think is a good time to discuss.
Want to talk?
Yep.
Sure. We're hoping to have we're planning a meeting in November with all of the boards and commissions. We'd like the Board of Finance to join us in presenting to the other commissions and the members, all of the members, at the same time on the 13th. A couple of things. One, it's time for us to roll out our strategic plan to make sure that everyone understands it, identifies it, and can review it, has any questions on it. But just to make sure everybody's on the same page in terms of what we're looking to do. We'd also like to make the budget component on there, so it would be a first look at what we're looking for next year. And what Tony and I have discussed is specifically to identify those costs that we know are coming. We absolutely know they're coming. Wages, for example, is a classic example. And identify those so folks understand, in particularly those boards and commissions that oversee some of our larger departments, and they understand exactly what we're looking at as it stands, even before we get started into the budget process.
Yeah, another one is capital. Right?
Exactly.
So what did departments request last year for their year 2 in their capital plan? That now should be coming this year.
Right.
And how does that look? And of course, revaluation.
And revaluation will be a topic that we'll hear a lot about as months go along, in terms of what the impact is going to be. So that's something that obviously we'd like to partner with the Board of Finance in terms of presenting. As I say, we're planning it for the 13th. It's a normal day for a Board of Selectmen meeting. We're looking to do it at 7 o'clock in the evening, so the Board of Selectmen can have their meeting prior to. And then the other boards can decide whether they want to also have their meetings at different places throughout the town as their November meeting, so to speak, so as to make it as convenient as possible for the various volunteers that we have.
so it's all the boards and commissions that have budgets, or
All the
anybody,
boards and
no matter
commissions,
whether they do
period.
or whether they don't?
Yes,
Gotcha.
correct.
Do
And
you
it's-
expect me to believe you can end a Board of Selectmen meeting at 7 p.m.? That's optimistic, Mika.
Well, we figure we're gonna have to.
And it'll have to be a hard stop, because people will be filing
I
in.
have a question. Are you talking about having a joint meeting with all the boards and commissions, or a joint meeting with the chairs of all boards and commissions?
All members of all the boards. We plan to do it in the gym.
So you're gonna meet here probably and then muster over
Correct.
there,
And then
okay.
move into the gym. And,
Oh.
and obviously it'll also be open to the public. The board will have to.
Yeah,
It's kind of still in our planning stages where we're talking about it from a logistics standpoint to see, and also, we're also talking about it into a value statement. And from a values perspective, it's like, okay, what will we get out of this if we do it? The biggest thing we'd like to do is, and the budget is a big piece of it, which is the reason we want to bring it up today, to make sure that folks understand where we are and what we absolutely need, where we need to get to. So we can start setting an expectation in terms of what can or cannot happen as we move forward. And also just to make sure we're fully transparent with everyone in terms of what we're trying to accomplish. And it gives them an opportunity. I've been to a number of commission meetings, and it just gives an opportunity for there to be an exchange. We also hope that we've got a lot of resources that we've added recently that will be will have a significant impact on what's happening within the town. And what I'm referring to is specifically the town planner that we've now got on board and has started, where we're very close. Hopefully, beginning of next week at the latest, we'll probably have negotiated the contract for the master planner for CCW. We've got consultants who are working with the Beecher Road School. And who am I missing, Tony? We're working with Rex. We've got a consultant who we're working with as far as the EDC is concerned. So, I'm sorry, POCD.
Right.
POCD is one that I'm overlooking. And we're hoping that they will have representatives there as well, so we can kind of exchange some information and people can ask, rather than them attending various meetings, we can do something all at once at that point in time, considering that we're paying for them by time. So it'll be a little bit more efficient from that perspective. So very much look for your input as far as that's concerned. Again, really looking to identify and make sure that this is something that will be of value to those, not only those present, but to the public is what we're really most interested in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will the consultants be presenting?
Right now, it appears so far we've gotten 3 of the 4 to agree to participate.
Gotcha.
Okay. We need to approve the minutes, special meeting, August 21st. I believe that was a Zoom meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
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 So moved.
Can I get a motion? Okay, a second.
Second.
All right. Any questions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No objections, no abstentions. Okay. Thank you. And you want to just keep talking? We've got a first selectman report here. Don't forget
Well,
to mention the date of the POCD.
Since we were just mentioned the POCD, October 8th is a public session date where they're looking, it's kind of a workshop session where people can drop in. I believe it's from 4 to 7 p.m. so that folks who can make it early can be there. And folks who coming back from work, there'll be some time for them to also participate. They're looking for input. As always, with regards to this, folks sometimes forget to realize that this is our plan. This is what we work off of in terms of how we operate the town going for the next 10 years. So it's really important that we get the input. We have, we were very fortunate in terms of the responses we got from the public in regards to the surveys. So there's a good amount of data that they present, and that's the type of information they're going to use and they're going to go over and they're going to leverage as to how they what steps they take and what they put in our plan.
I think just interrupt, I think it's worth mentioning that open house is in here.
Correct.
It's in town hall,
Correct.
not the gym. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Along with that, there'll be another session in case folks can't make it in October that hasn't been scheduled yet, but there will be another one scheduled, and we're also going to there are also scheduled times where it'll be small increments where actually they've advised all the chairs of all the commissions that they're looking for input. SLR is our consultant for the POCD. They're looking for input. So they've advised that they're looking for it, and that can happen from today onward. But they will also make some time to formally meet with the chairs to go over it, but those will be very short kind of snippet meetings, similar to what we do with the budget, but probably a little shorter on each one, where they come in and they provide some information as well. So that's happening, and we're moving forward. We need to get this done by next year, like March of next year. We really have to have it virtually completed. So they're moving rapidly at this point in time, and lots happening. I think everyone has heard that we received the commitment to fund from the State Department of Transportation with regard to the Lot Zip grant. Thanks go out to Beth and to the 2030 committee and some of the members of the EDC who were very instrumental in working that through a number of years.
And Tony,
We always thank Tony.
always, main man.
And so it's, we're very fortunate. There's approximately $8 million in the grant. However,
Well,
at
that's
this
pretty
point in
good.
time, it
Well,
was.
we started at what, 11 or something?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's
And,
okay though, I figured we're down to 2. so-
Regrettably,
Yay, good
regrettably,
job,
a
wonderful.
traffic light at Bradley Road was taken out of there by the
just about to ask you that.
Department of
Thank you.
Transportation.
Oh,
But
no.
we will continue to push that and see what we can do
Right.
from that perspective.
Oh.
But in this one, they
Do you know
took
what
that
the
out.
cost of that is?
The traffic.
Yeah,
What was it? I'm sorry?
how much
It
was it?
about $750,
Yeah,
about $800,000 all
It's
told.
not because of cost, though.
No.
It
That's
wasn't
not
because
why
of
they took
cost.
it out.
No.
Correct. So we're gonna keep plugging away to see what we can do
Nobody
as far as that's
died, I know.
concerned. But in the meantime, it does mean that we'll be able to expand the sidewalk network down there and do a lot of other good work, from traffic calming to other things that are going on. The next step is actually to do an engineering study to really see if there's drainage needed, things of that nature.
Mhm.
What's it really gonna take to do what the plan says? And we submit that and then we move from there.
I
So-
saw them working down there just the other day, I think.
Yep, that was doing some preliminary drainage work.
Yep.
As I mentioned, I think I mentioned, we're very close to signing with the master planner for the country club, so that, the country club property. So that's something that will be moving forward, and the Board of Selectmen will be working on putting together a organizing committee with a committee to work with the planner themselves, but that's, we expect by October to start moving full speed ahead with that. Our strategic plan at this point in time has been put onto the website, and we are reviewing it on a regular basis. If you look at our schedule, you'll see in parentheses on our agenda, excuse me, not our schedule, but you'll notice on our agendas that there are in parentheses letters and numbers, and those reference the items on the strategic plan that they're associated with. What we're trying to do is just make sure that we put something on the agenda, it's something that actually is relevant to our plan and is helping us move the town forward.
Stay on task. I like
Stay
that.
on task.
I like that addition.
So I just wanted everyone to know there's been a lot of conversation with regard to our Warner elderly complex on Lucy Street. The board just opted to not approve the lease assignment that was being considered. Chaffa has also, and that was as a result of conversation specifically, and very much so as a result of conversations and in dealings with Chaffa, as well as public comment and some other information that was identified. The Chaffa is helping us to work with the landlord and identify an alternative plan for that. So we will be moving forward and working very diligently on that. I am meeting with most of the residents, or a lot of the residents down there on a monthly basis, just to keep them apprised as to what's going on, because they're very interested in that. We also just recently submitted for a USDA compost grant, and that's specifically to this. The grant is to do an engineering study at our transfer station to determine the feasibility of doing a larger compost kind of a system out there. But it includes, so this is really for the engineering study, and it also includes a pilot for composting, where we have composting bins and so people can bring their compost. And this is really food waste compost into the transfer station, so we can collect that specifically. And I mean, where this really helps us, in addition to just helping the environment, it also will cut our costs by lightening the load from tipping fee standpoint. So we can reduce the number of tons that we actually have to transport transporting waste.
Mika, could I ask, is that going to be a voluntary thing to participate in the pilot
Yes.
program?
Yes, what we're
Residents have to
hoping
come-
for,
yeah.
the grant will include like 300 bins for residents. So we're
Gotcha.
hoping 300 people will agree that this is something that they're gonna do, and they can bring their waste. It'll be here, it'll be at the transfer station. We'll have some sort of an area here where they can also bring waste, and Sorrow Farms is volunteered. Also, since they're doing it and they have something there already, they're looking. So we'll have like 3 sites where you can bring your waste to, your food waste to, and then it'll be transported by Blue Earth is our partner on this,
Mhm.
by Blue Earth to their facility.
Mm.
So But it is it'll be completely voluntary at this point in time. The more people who do it, the less weight in our
Right.
solid waste.
Right.
We finalized the Department of Housing grant for, that will help us pay for our town planner, who we've been very much engaged with at this point in time on a monthly basis. And they're looking at, right now, they're just collecting information and putting together a lot of information for us, but this, the grant pays for half of what we plan to pay them annually. So we were able to finalize everything that's required on that. And Leslie, that's about it. I already mentioned about the meeting in November 13th. And if there are any questions,
I have a question.
please.
Is there any update on the center building?
The committee continues to meet. No, there's really not anything
Nothing new on
of
that.
substance in there.
Okay.
And they're looking at all options, including a separate police station, obviously at this point.
Right, yeah, okay. Any other questions for Mika? No?
The lot zip grant, that does include the possibility of drainage improvements down there with the businesses, like close to the trailer and all that, those areas that typically flood in that
Yes.
area when we get
Yes.
heavy rain. I've heard a lot of people asking if that money could possibly be used for those improvements.
The grant, it specifies like what's included in it. It's got a you know, an itemization of everything that it includes in it. However, the engineering study is what would uncover that type of the specifics. And what we have identified, and Tony can probably speak to this better than I can, if additional funds are required to do what they've already said they would do, but let's say there is a drainage that, in order to correct the drainage issue that you're referencing, we need more funds, that would be considered and possibly added to the grant.
That's correct. And specifically as it relates to Amity Road, because Amity Road's an urban collector, and that's a different classification under this grant and would qualify for additional funding if it was necessary.
That's good news.
If it's due to the structure of the road, something to do with the structure or of the road or the drainage in the road, which, you know, then it would hopefully would be able to get additional funding for that.
Great.
I mean, it is a
Thank you.
state road, so they have some
I mean,
interest in
yeah.
keeping it
Right.
and making
And-
sure that it's done at a certain level.
And they don't want us to invest all this money and then, you know,
Dig it up.
again for,
Yeah,
right.
so,
Thank you both.
thank you.
Any other liaison reports? I guess not. I will entertain a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
So moved. Second? I'll second it. All in favor? We're done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,